Hey everybody, it's meteorologist Jamie Singleton here in the home office. Hopefully you can all hear and see me. For the first time I'm doing this without cameras, but just with microphone and audio because there's just so much to hook up when you're dealing with something like this where you're multi-streaming to different places. So hopefully everybody can see and hear me well. We've got a couple of tornado warnings we need to talk about, and right now the biggest threats are on the outside skirts of our area. In other words, you're looking at Washington County under a tornado warning until 5:45 p.m. We've also got a tornado warning down here into Caswell County, and we'll zoom you into that area as well and show you what's going on here. This is a radar indicated tornado around southeast Tazewell County in North Carolina. That's just to the south of Danville. I'll tell you that it looks like there was rotation, or there still is rotation with this storm as it continues to move off to the north and to the east. But that's not the only game in town. In fact, if you look further to the south, you can see new cells developing down here. And these will be continuing the track up to the north and up to the into our area of Virginia here as we go into the coming hour or so. They are flying. These are developing on their own because of the instability, and they're going to be moving into this area, which happens to have a warm front draped across it that tends to enhance the shear. And if you've been watching my updates all day, you know that warm fronts typically are what provide the trouble in our area. So that's a concern. Now, far southwest Virginia, we're looking at you too, because we've got a severe thunderstorm warning out now for Tazewell County and for Smith County until 6 o'clock. A tornado warning remains in effect in Washington County, and if you're familiar with the area, there's I-81. Let me turn on some roads for you here. And again, I'm assuming you all can see and hear this fine. All right, so Washington County here, just to the east of Abington, looking at probably a lot of hail in here as well. I'll go ahead and read you the actual tornado warning, the full text from Morristown, Tennessee. Eastern Washington County under tornado warning until 5:45. We've got the thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado over Abington, moving east at 35 miles per hour. Now, you may notice a lot of the cells have been moving off to the northeast. When you get a tornado, the cells begin to turn to the right, and that right turn is an indication that this thing is spinning. All right, so you're looking at flying debris possible, homes being damaged or destroyed, damage to roofs, windows, and vehicles are likely. It's going to remain over mainly rural areas of eastern Washington County. That's relatively good news, including the following locations: Lindell, Emory, Meadowview, and Glade Spring. We all know Glade Spring is right here. You're just ahead of this thing in Glade Spring. So if you're watching in Glade Spring, you need to take cover. That also includes where we don't have the warning just yet in western Smith County. There's I-81, 7 Mile Ford, Chilhowie, Saltville. You need to take shelter now. This is a tornadic thunderstorm, and all of the ingredients are in place today and unfortunately coming together right over our area for these severe storms and for these tornadoes. So interior room, if you don't have a basement, away from windows, and you want to just cover yourself with a mattress or something like that if you do get under a tornado warning. It's hard to tell here, but there's a severe thunderstorm warning in effect now for Tazewell County and for Smith County. That's in effect until 6 o'clock. That's issued by the National Weather Service in Blacksburg. And by the way, I do have a direct link. You can't see it, but it's a direct link here off to our right where I can see what's going on at each National Weather Service office. If I need to tell them something, I can type it up. It's kind of like an old AOL instant messenger kind of thing, but I can do that. They will respond when they can. I can ask them a question, they can answer it, or they can just tell us, the media and the emergency managers, what they're seeing on radar beyond what the warning says. The only rule is I can't directly read or show what's about to happen. Sometimes they'll give us a heads up on things, and we're not supposed to compete with the other media outlets and use that as a competition thing. So it's used to get the information out quickest, but I will be looking off to my right at times, and you may hear me kind of go silent, and that's because I'm reading what the National Weather Service is putting out on NWS Chat. This severe thunderstorm warning was issued about 15 minutes ago, and again, it's for Smith County and western Tazewell County until 6 o'clock. We've got severe thunderstorms along a line, so they are highlighting the fact that, yeah, that we've got this one tornadic storm. Let's see, remember how to draw here. One tornadic storm, it's rotating here in to the Washington County going into Glade Spring. That's moving off to the east. So again, folks in Smith County, you want to take cover now before that warning comes out. But you've also got these cells that are kind of clustered together, and there's little kinks in here indicating that they may be trying to rotate as well as they move closer into Richlands and White's Store and Tazewell County as well. Quarter-sized hail, that's 1-inch hail. Marion, Richlands, all in a path of this. And hail, by the way, can do some damage. The terminal velocity of hail is about 90 miles per hour. So imagine having a Major League Baseball pitcher throwing baseballs at your head if you don't have a helmet, or at your roof, or at your car windshield. Not a good situation. So I don't want to discount the fact that not only do we have a tornado threat, but we're looking at large hail. And this is the type of setup like we see in a major tornado outbreak. Even in the Midwest, this will be considered major. So the fact that it's in our area really ups the ante here. Marion, Richland, Saltville, Shohowie, Cedar Bluff, and Mount Rogers Recreation Area, including Sugar Grove. And they tell us here pretty strong wording from the National Weather Service, and I'll pop it up on the screen. It's a little hard to see. Remain alert for a possible tornado. Tornadoes can develop quickly from severe thunderstorms. In other words, that's echoing what I'm saying. If you get under a severe thunderstorm warning, you need to treat that like a tornado warning in this case, because the entire area is under a tornado watch. In effect, most of the area until 10 o'clock. So any storm can quickly produce a tornado. Now, we have seen evidence of that already in areas where you would not expect to see that, and I'm going to show you. This was at around 1:15. This actually went unwarned, unfortunately, by the National Weather Service. But around western Greenbrier County here, around the Quinwood area, there are several trees and power lines down in that area reported by dispatch. At the same time, we could see a debris signature on the radar. They had a special weather statement out for that. They're very busy looking at these other cells that are moving through, because this is a historic outbreak for our area. So that apparently was a tornado in Quinwood, West Virginia, if you ask me. You can go to Mark Overbeck's Twitter and see his capture of that and see the correlation coefficient that was showing it there. Let me show you some other stuff here. I don't want to get stuck on one image. I'm going to show you, this is a 4-panel, but I've got a setup here where I can just show you the actual radar from the National Weather Service, so you can see the right panel. Now, off to the side of my screen, see if I change it, I'm looking at 4 different things at the same time. I don't want to confuse you, so I may go back and forth, but this is the main panel. All right, so again, there's what we were just talking about, far southwest Virginia, seeing the tornado, that tornadic storm there in Washington County. In fact, if you turn on the storm relative velocity, you can actually see the rotation being picked up here just to the east of Abington. So again, Chilhowie and Saltville, you want to remain in a safe place. You should already be getting there now, even though you're under a severe thunderstorm warning, not a tornado warning just yet. If this thing continues to spin and continues to take the path it's going to take right up 81, that's going to be some treacherous stuff that you don't want to be involved in. And just to show you some other things I'll look at, this is called a spectrum width. You see that yellow showing up right there? And that's very close to the sensor there in Southwest Virginia, east of Abington, west of Chilhowie. This shows me where the wind is changing within the radar beam. And usually that's a good sign if you can correlate that to spin in the atmosphere, or at least changing wind in the atmosphere. So we look at it there, but we can also look at it again back to our base velocity. Let me get on the right panel here. All right, and then we can also look at our base velocity, the reds and the greens. We can take out the storm motion and just look at the overall velocity. And this is a better way to look at rotation, because the storms themselves are moving so fast. We take out the storm motion and then we look at the actual wind relative to the storm. In other words, what's going on if you were the thunderstorm, where are the winds going? And they're going towards and away from the radar in a pretty good fashion there. So that's why the National Weather Service in Morristown, Tennessee, has picked up that tornado warning. Now the cutoff is right through here, so that's why you've got a severe thunderstorm warning and out ahead of that, basically for the fact that that storm's going to be moving into the Blacksburg, what we call their CWA, their county warning area. So let's zoom in out, and I want to show you the rest of the area because I know it can get confusing, and I'll put this in motion. This goes back quite a ways, but it does show you how we've had areas of rain throughout the day in Franklin County, Martinsville, Danville, and you may be thinking, well, it's nothing severe. It doesn't even look that bad outside. There's this low mist. It's kind of cool, but it's humid outside. There's not much going on. Well, that's actually a problem because that interacts with the warm front as it's trying to move in. So picture it like this. You've got this cool air that's just sitting here, relatively cool. It's kind of pouched around the Roanoke Valley and the Franklin County and Floyd County. On the back side of that, in the southwest flow, you've got this warm, unstable air that is running into that cold or colder dome of air here across a good part of the area on the outer reaches of the area right now. The general thinking is this pouch is going to be eroded away, and we're going to see this unstable air continue to move farther to the north, and along that we are going to see some spin. We're going to see northeast to southeast winds in the cooler air, and then we're aloft, we're going to look at southwest winds on top of that that causes all that spin, and you create the instability there as well. I want to get right to a very important new tornado warning that's come out now. Let's see, this has been issued from, I believe, Raleigh. Yeah, so I've got theirs ready to go. Let's look at Raleigh-Durham's radar, and we're going to put up, I've got, this is northern Orange County and northern Durham County. So if you're in Danville, this is not too far away from you. You just missed this tornadic thunderstorm. But apparently this one is reported because it's showing up in pink, and I'm looking there and I can confirm that this is a reported tornado either by a weather spotter or law enforcement. I haven't looked at the warning yet, so let's look at it here live with you. The law enforcement in that area, that is south of Person County, but you are under a separate tornado warning in Person County, but going down into Durham County, into really Orange County there, north of I believe that's 40. Yeah, it's I-40. A law enforcement confirmed tornado that's moving off to the north and to the east. Timberlake, Rogemont in the path of this. It'll be around Rogemont around 5:50. So another 15 or 20 minutes you need to be getting into your safe place. And I'm spotting these tornadoes for you on a more regional scale because it's all part of the same system. And so folks that may be watching me in Charlotte Courthouse or in Emporia, I've got viewers all over the place now in Virginia because social media breaks away those market barriers. I do like to track these tornadoes in the Carolinas as well because they're moving so fast. and it says northeast at 25 miles per hour, but you don't think that's fast. But when the storm's aloft, it can really start to book it into an area that you may not expect it to be too fast getting there. So we're looking at possible flying debris here. I don't know if I see it, but I do see something. Let me show you the correlation coefficient. And I'm going to put a marker right here. I do see possible debris, and it's interesting because that marker is where debris showing up. Now, does that show up where our circulation is? Well, it sure does. So that would tend to indicate also a radar confirmed tornado. You can kind of see a bit of a hook here in this area. So again, this is northern Orange County, North Carolina, Person County being right there. This thing it has an inflow notch. It is a very dangerous, possibly confirmed tornado. Law enforcement says we've got one on the ground, and so that's why it's showing up in purple. That's the most severe kind next to a tornado emergency that you're ever going to find anywhere. And you can see how our warm front is just to the south. That red line right there, just to the south. So these tornado warnings are occurring right out ahead of our front, and that front's going to continue to slowly try to build north into the area as we head into the rest of the evening and into, unfortunately, the overnight. We've got the tornado watch in effect for a good part of the area, in effect until about 10 o'clock at night. So let me show you here. This is off of my other computer. I do have them communicating. It took a little bit of testing today to get that to happen. This is rapid scale GOES imagery, and so I've taken the radar off, but I'm showing you just the lightning and the warnings, and that sometimes gives us an idea of the shear in these thunderstorms. It also gives us an idea of where the storms are becoming more severe, because sometimes you get what's called a lightning jump out ahead of these tornadic storms. So you can see how the Roanoke Valley here is sitting here with partly to mostly cloudy skies. You can see the colder cloud tops. Those are the very high updrafts that have gotten that moisture way up into the atmosphere, and the satellite sees that and gives us these really bright colors. So this is not a radar as much as it is just looking at the clouds. And every time you see the screen glow, well, that's a live lightning strike that has come into my subscriptions. When I do my Patreons, this is some of the stuff that pays for, so we can look at live lightning there on your screen. The tornado watch there is in red, this big red polygon that you see. This is the one that's in effect until 10 p.m. You can see that goes all the way up to almost to Harrisonburg, all the way up to 64 in Charlottesville, includes Richmond and Emporia, includes Danville, includes basically the NRV and the Roanoke Valley area as well, and all the way down into Greensboro and Raleigh and Greenville, where we've got the ongoing severe thunderstorm warnings, now getting closer to Virginia Beach and Smithfield, Greenville, and Elizabeth City, North Carolina, getting hit hard at the moment. I don't like seeing these breaks in the clouds here, because this is going to remind me a lot, if this ends up verifying, of 2011, where normally you get one line of storms, it takes all the energy out, and then that's it. This is a case where you may get one or two storms and the energy is still there because the storm system is just that strong and there's that much shear that's going on here. So what I want to kind of point out here too is there's plenty more action upstream. So if I go a little bit farther to the south, and again, the southwest part of the area near I-77, you're under a tornado watch until 8 o'clock. So there are two different tornado watches. I would just basically say anywhere between 8 and 10 p.m. you still need to be on guard anywhere that you're watching this. A little bit of a lag there on my keyboard mouse control, but you can see that there are several warnings. There are several lightning clusters here within that. Now, what are we seeing up under this? Let me see if I can turn the clouds off for a second. You can see kind of a funky color here. This is called the Energy Helicity Index, And this can also be delayed, but what it is, it's kind of like looking at the significant tornado parameter, but it also looks at the amount of storm fuel in the air, and it looks at the low level spin in the air, and it comes up with basically one number. And basically it's an easy way to see where most of the spin is in the atmosphere. And again, remember, we talked about that warm front being down here. All right, so that's right through here. I'll get this drawing thing down in just a second. Just a second. So a warm front is right about here. And again, right along that front is where we've got all this enhanced, what we call energy helicity index. And there's no real value to determine what's a tornado and what's not. You just look at the placement of it, and you can see it's starting to creep into the Roanoke Valley area as well. But really, Danville, Winston-Salem, and now we're getting in the far southwest Virginia, you can see that we're looking at very low values, but a value anything above 0 is significant in a case like this. And more than not, this is probably a little bit outdated data that'll refresh here in just a second. But to move you into far southwest Virginia, where we still have this ongoing tornado warning, the prospect is for 1-inch hail. It has another 9 minutes to go here. You can see it goes right up to Saltville and Chilhowie. But again, you're under a severe thunderstorm warning in Marion and Saltville and Smith County here for another 24 minutes. Both of these have the potential, all these storms, of producing 1-inch hail and 60-mile-per-hour plus straight line winds. We don't want to forget that. Just because the wind isn't spinning does not mean it won't do damage. In fact, some of our more significant damage can occur in straight line winds, and people will swear up and down that they had a tornado because of the damage that flips cars and tears up houses and homes. Well, you can get that with straight line winds as well. So both potentials are there for straight line winds and for tornadic winds. Let's look down here south of Danville, south of Halifax, and South Boston. South Boston, this cell's going to miss you, but I do think it's going to near I-85 here in just a little bit. But we are watching southern Halifax County as well. You've got that tornado warning, that confirmed, law enforcement confirmed tornado warning in effect here. And I'll go ahead and let me see, erase this, because I believe I've got, yeah, some polygon texture here just to kind of give you a better idea of just seeing the warnings without the radar. Don't want to get you too bogged down with what's going on. So Danville's under a tornado watch, but then you get down here across Caswell County, northern Orange County, you can see that you've got that confirmed tornado, and that's why I've got the icons there flashing for another 23 minutes. 3/4 inch hail and winds up to 60 miles per hour. Of course, if you get a tornado, you're looking at potential hail that could be up about 1 or 2 inches, and of course debris, and your winds certainly would be over 60 miles per hour in the tornado itself. This is more for the general thunderstorm that we're tracking in that area. So let's zoom it back out here so we can get a better idea of the regional picture here. The tornado watch, again, covering most of our area. You've got two main areas of concern, one right now in far southwest Virginia. The other one right now is to the south of South Boston. The warm front is starting to move a little bit farther to the north. Let me see if I can get that to refresh for you. See if it refreshes. Yeah, so now we've got it pretty much near I-40, and that's why we're seeing that. So I do anticipate over the next several hours for this warm front to continue edging closer to Mount Airy and Danville, and yeah, even the mountainous areas under a tornado warning right now. We've also got upstream storms that are going to be moving north out of Bennettsville, South Carolina. They're going to move more east, but we still have activity south of Hickory and Charlotte, where they've already had a few tornado warnings earlier today. This is a weather situation where, again, we won't just see one line of storms. You may see one or two lines, and it may go back up again in terms of your warning status. So hopefully your alerts are turned on your cell phones. My Twitter page automatically posts these alerts, all alerts, on my Twitter page at JB Singleton, and I believe I'm live on most platforms, including YouTube, and my actual Facebook, Twitter pages, as well as Responding Fire. All that is working through a company called Restream, which allows me to put that information out for you there in a timely manner. Basically, it throws the stream out to several sources all at once, so I don't have to worry about it. And even on, let me see, apparently on Instagram. Now, I haven't tried it, but I think I'm live on Instagram. After my broadcast ends, I don't know if it'll be there. Instagram's kind of weird like that. But what I'm about to do is, real quickly, I'm going to go over here, and we are going to go live on TikTok, because that is a great way to get folks that are not in the immediate area up to date on what's going on. So let me just real quickly get a title here going. So we're just going to title this Tornado Coverage Live. You should already know where you're going to go if a warning comes out. Have a safe place. Basement, if you don't have a basement. A friend's house that does have a basement. If you don't have time to get there, go to an interior room like a hallway or a bathroom if you do get under a warning. Most areas are just under a watch right now, but that will change for a good many of you. You must be 16 years or older to access live. I agree. I wish I was 15 again, but... All right, so we're going to welcome our TikTok viewers now. We're now on TikTok, so if you're watching out of Virginia and North Carolina, I'm a meteorologist out of the Franklin County, Roanoke Valley area, but I do cover most of the region through Tennessee, and we'll be doing most of the country here, hopefully in just a couple of weeks. But we do have several tornado watches that are in effect. This one right here that you're seeing on your screen around Roanoke to Richmond into North Carolina is in effect until 10 o'clock tonight, and then we've got another tornado watch that's in effect until 8 o'clock for Johnson City, Bristol, Tennessee, far southwest Virginia, actually includes eastern Kentucky there as well, all the way down into the upstate of South Carolina and into the mountains of North Carolina. My primary interest is going to be the Roanoke Valley and far southwest Virginia. This is the area that I cover as part of my job. However, I will be covering other areas because the storms are going to be moving fast, and they're going to be catching our attention here at some point as that warm front lifts north. I want to go a little bit farther to the south towards Hickory. We've got a special weather statement for a cell here. Let's see if I can get some data with this. I'm going to turn back on our enhanced data. And 40-mile-per-hour winds possible with a storm approaching that area. That's just north of Interstate 40. And it's going to be moving into Blacksburg's, what we call their CWA here very soon, Yadkinville, Boonville, East Bend, by the 6 o'clock hour. We've got an ongoing tornado warning in effect for far southwest Virginia, around Saltville and west, that it is going to linger for another 2 minutes. Now, it'll be interesting to see if the National Weather Service in Blacksburg will pick this up or not. But regardless, for Tazewell County and for Bland County, you need to be on guard. Western Smith County, most of Smith County, in fact, under a severe thunderstorm warning for another 15 minutes or so. So the all clear can pretty much be given already in Washington County, because I can zoom in here and you can see the actual overshooting tops. This is an indication of a very strong updraft So what you see, those bright orange and yellow colors, that's where the air is blowing up into the storm. It's probably rotating, and you can see the other warning there. We're starting to count down there by the tenths of a second. It's pretty cool technology. I will tell you the sun's setting, so you're starting to see some fade here on the east side of that. That's a shadow cast by these towers that are going up with some of these thunderstorms, but they are they're doing their business here and producing a lot of hail and damaging wind, possibly, and could be even producing a tornado at any given time, sometimes in between radar scans. Between the 2 to 5 minute radar scans, they can drop a tornado just like that. So you need to treat any warning or advisory as if it's a tornado warning in this case. And you can see that that cell continues moving into the Smith County area and into Tazewell County. So we're going to go back to our other source here. I've got so many radar pictures up. So let's look at the Morristown radar real quick, and we'll do the easy look. You can see this is northeastern Tennessee. What a mess. Look at these reports here. 1-inch hail, trees, power lines down. You've got trees down all over the place in Tennessee. That's pretty much 60 to 70 mile per hour winds. But you can see in our area, this is where Morristown radar kind of gets out of range. But you can see if you put up this image and then you put up the storm relative velocity and you put that in motion, we'll go back here a few minutes. You can see how it definitely had some rotation with it when it was in Washington County. That looks like it weakened some, but it's hard to tell because we are actually, because the Earth is round, we're looking at about 11,000 feet up in the atmosphere. Unfortunately, there's going to be dead areas in between the Floyd County radar and the Morristown, Tennessee area because of the curvature of the Earth, where we can't sample the lower part of the storm, which is where the tornadoes are generated. So we have to rely on spotters and your comments for that. This is the Blacksburg office, and again, the Princeton County tornado warning is reported. That is in effect again for another, let's see, 14 minutes or so. And that polygon there, that is for the Timberlake area, Princeton County. I don't see too much happening there of debris, so we're going to zoom back out. But I do want to show you here a couple of reports with probably the same cell. Emergency manager in Orange County, North Carolina, confirmed that tornado and reported residential structural damage. So that doesn't sound good. We've also got major damage to a building with no injuries. That's good news. That was also in Orange County, North Carolina, with this very same cell as it tracked to the northeast. So you can see as it came, that's I-40, as it came across Alamance, it intensified into Orange County, and it's now heading farther up to the north. Overall, the stability of the air is going to favor more general severe thunderstorms with time for right now. However, as we head into the next couple of hours, these are going to start to spin. And so things are going to change here in a real quick hurry. So now in far southwest Virginia, what I'm seeing is, this is from the Blacksburg radar, some very intense thunderstorm activity, severe thunderstorm warnings continuing for this area. And that's western Tazewell County, western Smith County. This is probably hail occurring here near Chilhowie. That looks very ominous to me. That's a lot of reflectivity. If we go to our correlation coefficient, we can also see that we've got a lowering here. What you'd want to see if you didn't want to see debris or hail, you'd want this to be all cranberry colored. Where you see the greens and the blues, that's either debris from a tornado, or that's hail, or that could be both. In this case, it does concern me because if I look at our base velocity, you do see around Smith and Marion here, you do see a bit of a couplet there. It's not very well defined, but again, we are still, even though now we're on the Blacksburg radar, This, where I've got my mouse, is 6,000 feet in the air. So there's probably something going on below that 6,000 feet. And honestly, there probably should be a tornado possible within this severe thunderstorm warning that's just been issued. Let's see what their wording is on that. Yeah, let me show you what the National Weather Service will do. They'll put out the severe thunderstorm warning. Okay, so Marion, Chilhowie, Sugar Grove, Mount Rogers, Nebo, Marion, Wytheville, and Adwolf. At the very bottom here, these are called the little tags, and they're almost like the fine print of a contract. This basically covers them in case there is a tornado, but they will not do this often. This is a high-end severe thunderstorm warning where they put tornado possible. Hail size 1.25 inches, so not just an inch, 1.25 inches. They are watching this very carefully, and they may be considering upgrading this to a tornado warning if the circulation continues. And again, this is in Smith County in far southwest Virginia. Continues to kind of group together there. Storm relative velocity, this takes out the motion of the storm and just looks at the wind that the storm is seeing, and you've got a lot of wind there going away from the radar screen, at least as far as it can see at 6,000 feet. But you've also got those greens very close together there, right near Smith there and near Adwolf. That's a very dangerous place to be right now, so you should be treating that as a tornado warning. And watch out around Atkins as well. And that gives me the idea to tell you an early heads up would be around Tazewell, Bland, with Max Meadows, and down in the Grayson County. Just because you're in the mountains does not mean you're immune in any way to any of these warnings as they're coming out, or any of these thunderstorms that are coming out as well. You can also see in the unwarned area here around Tip Top, Tazewell County, you can see some little notches that do concern me. And as I mentioned that, look what happened. We've got a special weather statement out from the National Weather Service in Blacksburg, because we do have cells that are now popping up. And again, this is going to be the trend. This is why you need to stay on this stream and continue to watch this, because this is going to be changing minute by minute, second by second. We now have a special weather statement in effect. That's just short of a severe thunderstorm warning for Princeton. I'm going to read it to you here. Over Cirrus near Bluefield, moving northeast at 35 miles per hour. Winds in excess of 40 miles per hour and pea-sized hail. Gusty winds can knock down tree limbs and blow around unsecured objects. Just because you aren't under an official severe thunderstorm warning, a special weather statement is still enough to get your attention. That still means you're going to have some impact. That's going to include wind damage and possibly significant wind damage. But this is the best job they're doing right now, the National Weather Service in Blacksburg. They're holding off on the severe thunderstorm warning for now, but they're telling us that at the bottom of this, that a tornado watch remains in effect until 8 p.m. for this area, and another one remains in effect for the rest of the area until 10 p.m. So consider that when you look at the special weather statement. Basically what they're hinting at is that at any time they could upgrade this to a tornado warning as well, because there's some little notches here, not one really taking over the other. I don't see much of that, but I do see the possibility of some hail in around the Bluefield area right there on the line there. That's Bluefield, West Virginia. There's Tip Top in Tazewell County up to Princeton. There's probably some hail, or at least some pea-sized hail, and that as I look at some of my hail parameters there as well. But this is the overall radar that you're used to seeing there. Mercer County and Princeton getting hit hard from newly developed storms. And again, these are nearing in on the area primarily that I cover, which is the Roanoke Valley area. So we've got storms off to our south that have produced tornado damage in Orange County, North Carolina. We've got storms off to our east for our friends at Hampton Roads, and I've got a direct link to their National Weather Service feed as well. I'll show you that in just a second when I get some time. But what I'm concerned about for the Roanoke Valley, Bedford area, Craig County, I'm sure there's people asking about their locations, and I understand you want to know what's going to happen in my area. I can tell you that all areas are at some point going to see probably a heavy shower or an intense storm, possibly a tornado. The Storm Prediction Center said that within 25 miles of any point east of the Blue Ridge, there was a 10% chance of seeing a tornado. Now, 10% doesn't sound like a lot. You have to consider that normally when we are under a tornado threat, the chances is about 2%. Never is it going to be 100%, because that would mean tornadoes filling up the entire radar screen. Every square mile of what you see would be under a tornado. That's not ever going to happen. So you have to put that in relative terms. 10% is very high on the scale, on a relative scale, especially for this part of the country that doesn't see the classic tornado setups in whatever you want to call Tornado Alley, or even across the deep south where they see tornadic setups. This is the setup that brings us to tornadoes, when you've got a warm front moving north. And so let's point out a couple of things here. There are new cells that are developing north of Greensboro in the Surrey, Stokes, Rockingham counties, and into Yadkin counties. These at any moment could grow in intensity as they continue to scoot off to the north. So that's one area that I'm going to be watching here very carefully, is this activity down in North Carolina and the western Piedmont. The other part, you folks in the NRV, Mountain Empire, there's I-77. You need to watch this, as well as West Virginia. The Greenbrier Valley, you've already had one probable tornado near Quinwood. You've got more of this activity that'll be moving into Craig County, Giles County, and even Clifton Forge and Covington here over the next couple of hours. So no area is immune to the severe threat as we head into the rest of the afternoon and now going into the evening hours. I did want to point that out. I'm going to show you some other radar sites here. We'll go to Wakefield real quick, just to show our folks who may be watching in that area. Virginia Beach, you are still under the enhanced risk from the National Weather or National Storm Prediction Center, basically. And you've had already 1-inch hail confirmed. That's in the city of Franklin. Isle of Wight County there, Sussex under a severe thunderstorm warning. That includes Emporia. There's some hail indicated there. Possible rotation. That's in effect until 6:30 p.m. That's just to the north of Roanoke Rapids. This is all heading toward the greater Williamsburg area and also the greater Virginia Beach area. Let me see, make sure I'm on the right panel. I do see some wind, some very strong wind there showing up just to the west of Newport News in Virginia. And I also see the possibility of some rotation there as well. You know, the Wakefield National Weather Service office, you can't miss it if you take, I think it's 360 down through here. It's basically nothing, 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 trees, 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 peanut shop, and here's the National Weather Service radar dome. It's actually pretty cool when you have sunny weather and you're going on vacation in that area. It's very visible. But that's what they're picking up there. And that area, and again, any of those storms could also be a major player here in going forth as our warm front continues to now creep a little bit closer to the area. You can see this warm front now getting very close to the Virginia-North Carolina state line, and you're going to have enhanced spin along that warm front. New special weather statements in effect for eastern North Carolina for storms that will likely intensify and will likely start spinning as they encounter that warm front as well. Going to move back to Blacksburg here. And you can see that for folks watching in Clifton Forge, Rockbridge, and Nelson County, there's not a lot going on right now, just some light rain. Again, your temperatures are in the upper 60s, and it's actually kind of muggy. Dew points around 63, so the air is kind of muggy. Even though we've got a warm front down here, we're not really seeing as much of a air mass change in terms of temperature and humidity, but we are seeing a wind shift change. Let's look at that. It's going to be a little bit hard to see, so I'm going to draw it for you. But we're going to look at this. We're going to go down, and you see that barb right there? All these barbs south of the warm front. That shows where the wind is coming from. The wind's coming from the southwest on the southern side of this front. The front itself is right here. Okay. Now, north of that front, you've got your wind coming from the southeast. And you can see that on every weather station. You can see that the wind arrows it's pointed back into the direction that the wind is blowing. So the wind's blowing in from the southwest here. You've got the front there in black, and you've got the southeast winds out ahead of that. You combine all that, and that is where you get the enhanced risk of something to spin. Because the front itself has winds that are blowing at different directions along it. Plus, in the atmosphere, we've got spin going on as well. That's only going to add to the general threat here. We've got a new severe thunderstorm warning here issued for Princeton County, Roxborough, into Granville. This is issued by the, I believe, the National Weather Service in Raleigh. It's in effect until 6:45. Storms located along a line from Virgilina, 9 miles east of Roxborough, to near Rogemont, moving northeast at 30 miles per hour. 60-mile-per-hour winds and quarter-sized hail indicated here. Damage to vehicles is expected with that hail that is possible in that storm. So that's a severe thunderstorm warning. I don't see a whole lot of rotation with that at the moment, but because of the environment, any of these storms could quickly rotate. We'll keep that kind of in the back of our mind. Also noting that in Halifax County, you've got some heavier rainfall and some storms that have developed for your area into South Boston as well. Don't want to forget our folks there. Charlotte Courthouse seeing some moderate rain. What I'm most concerned with is now these two areas. I told you I would be watching these two areas very carefully. Stokes County, North Carolina, Henry County now, just south of Horse Pasture. We've got a brand new cell popping up. No rotation showing up just yet, just some heavier rainfall, but we'll have to watch this over the next 5 or 10 minutes to see if it strengthens. We've also got new activity that is developed right over the Patrick County line south of Stewart that would be moving into southern Patrick County and into western Henry County around Danbury and Stokes County. Also looking at Yadkin County and Surrey County. These are counties that the National Weather Service indeed covers, so they may put out a special weather statement. You'll see that in kind of a tan color if they do that. The minute they do it, it shows up here. But we've also got really intense activity off here to the west. That includes Bluefield and, again, the Smith County area, where the radar is having a hard time sampling this. But I do want to show you that there's probably some large hail in this. I'm going to show you the probability of severe hail, and it's showing up right there just to the north of Marion. That's where we have high vertically integrated liquid in the atmosphere. The radar is picking up a lot of stuff, and it doesn't necessarily have to be debris, although it could be, but that looks to me like more of a hail signature. This is the velocity signature, and I do see some rotation, very broad, right over the interstate here. If you look at storm relative velocity, there's some very high wind with this storm. Could be straight line, and you can see it updating here. So let's check it out again in that update. It almost looks like we're getting a bit of a rotation. It's trying to develop in Smith County, so that is an early heads up for Max Meadows and Wytheville. This storm has what is looking like on the southern flank here like a bow echo. And that's an area of very strong straight line winds that, again, can do just as much damage as a tornado. So that would be some very strong wind to watch there going into Smith County and just around the Marion area. The actual rotation with this is farther off to the east on the front end of this. And unfortunately, that's right over Interstate 81. So right on the line here, Max Meadows from Wytheville into Smith County. There will probably be another warning issued for Wythe County as this storm continues to cycle and move a little bit closer in toward the radar. We'll get better data there as well. You can see our correlation coefficient is all over the place. That's because the freezing levels here, so it's picking up on ice in the clouds, but it's also picking up on possible hail being lofted aloft there as well. We'll put it in motion, and you can see how, you know, things were very quiet there, and then all of a sudden this afternoon, as the storms began to move in, we had the tornado warning around Bristol earlier that got shaved down, and then when we went on the air here, this was coming through Washington County, and as it goes into Smith County, National Weather Service in Blacksburg decides that it's no longer worthy of a tornado warning, and that may be a good call. They're trained very special training goes on to figure out when to pull the trigger on a tornado warning. But I'm going to step off real quick here and read what they're putting out on the National Weather Service chat and see what we've got going on as far as what they're thinking. They're putting out, let's see, putting out a special weather statement for this activity in North Carolina that we were watching here just a second ago. This is going to be a special weather statement very soon. They do have tornado possible listed in this Marion Smith County storm. All right. So again, things aren't quite there for a tornado warning just yet, but that can all change with just one single radar scan. So all of this activity here that you see in Western Virginia, this is going to be moving off generally to the east-northeast. Now, if one of these storms becomes tornadic, what you'll see it do is it'll start moving like this, and then it will turn to the right. That is called a right turner, and it's just an indication that the spin has increased in that storm, and it starts to pick up its own momentum and in direction. And what's interesting is after it goes through like a cycle of spinning, it basically will turn back to the left, and that caught some folks off guard in Oklahoma last night. It didn't catch the Weather Service here off guard, but you may be seeing on Weather Twitter some stuff about that. Storms can turn right or left. They typically turn right when they increase and spin, then they'll turn left again as they weaken, and they could cycle back and forth. Now, let's go back down here because this is important. Yadkin and Yadkin County, Yadkinville here, Yadkin County and Yadkinville, this cell, we were just talking about it. Didn't look too impressive. Now look how things are blossoming up here, and this is just off the Virginia map here. I'm going to show you now the storm relative velocity, and we have pretty impressive rotation here as you head south of Yadkinville, and this is US 601. And we've got the greens going toward the radar, the reds going away from the radar. We've also got some circulation there east of Jonesville. This is headed toward Pilot Mountain and King in North Carolina. You may see a severe thunderstorm warning very soon for Yadkin County, North Carolina. There is a special weather statement in effect for right now for 40-mile-per-hour winds and pea-sized hail. But this has really started to ramp up in rotation. That's what I expected. If you just look at the regular rotation, you can see really doesn't take a rocket scientist in setups like this to see differing colors, differing brightness colors there. You can see the brighter light blues heading toward the radar screen, the darker colors heading away from the radar screen. There are 3 individual notches of rotation that need to be watched here. That's why the National Weather Service has put out this special weather statement for Dobson, Pilot Mountain, North Carolina, Yadkin County, going into Surrey County and Stokes County there as well. So you need to be on guard for the very immediate future for a chance of something being issued and something being either a severe thunderstorm warning or a possible tornado warning in that area. I'm looking at the regular radar picture here just to show you that there are more cells that are developing, and we've already got some stuff being issued excuse me, off to our west here as well. So let's expand the picture and we'll put this in motion so you can see everything kind of closing in on the area. So notice the activity there around Wilkes County, North Carolina. That's moving north out of Surrey County, beginning to spin now around Yadkinville. That southernmost storm is most intense, and now we've got the activity there coming into far southwest Virginia, now getting into the NRV. It's getting a bit closer to the New River Valley compared to the Mountain Empire. So this is a brand new severe thunderstorm warning that's in effect for Wythe County and for Bland County. I told you that was coming, and there it is. This is in effect until 7 o'clock at 6:06. The Blacksburg meteorologists up there detecting the severe storms that we've been watching along a line expanding from Burke's Garden to Rural Retreat to near Mount Rogers National Recreation Area, moving northeast at 60 miles an hour. Now, I mentioned these storms are going to start to fly, and I was trying to show you that a second ago, and the storm was only moving at 30 miles per hour. This one's moving at 60 miles per hour. That's incredibly fast. That's why this polygon's been issued all the way out in front of the storm to border Pulaski County. So you need to be thinking, when I show you these polygons and I show you the direction of movement, you already need to be thinking, if you're in Giles County, Pulaski County, even in the Floyd Montgomery County, you need to be thinking about the fact that these storms off here to the north of this line could also intensify. You also need to be thinking about what's going on down in North Carolina. So in Patrick County and Henry County, Floyd and Carroll County and Galax, you need to be thinking about the fact that these storms could intensify and move in very quickly as well. And look what's going on down here across the mountains of North Carolina and Tennessee. Yet again, another line of storms moved through. This area of storms, you would have thought, would have killed the energy, right? But as I told you, this is a setup that's favoring multiple waves of severe storms. So now there are new severe thunderstorm warnings out with possible rotation coming out of Johnson City and Kingsport. This is their second or third wave. We're also getting now reports in, as you see these icons popping up on the screen, quarter to half dollar sized hail. That's over an inch in diameter. That was reported just a short time ago to the National Weather Service by a trained spotter out of Smith County, Virginia. So these are big hailers, and they are putting down a lot of wind, a lot of rain, downpours, thunder, lightning, obvious signs, but they've also got some rotation in them now. We've got another trained spotter that's reporting hail up to 3/4 of an inch near Bluefield in Tazewell County, Virginia, right there on the border. There's actually a Bluefield, Virginia, and a Bluefield, West Virginia. For folks that don't know, they'll fuss at you if you get that wrong for good reason. I'll tell you that the cell in the center of the screen here does concern me because it's got a bit of a notch to it. You can kind of see that you've got kind of this is the outflow, the colder part of the storm, and really a spinning storm is also kind of a mini storm system. So for you meteorology buffs, this is your inflow notch. Let me get it where I can draw. Inflows coming into the storm like this. This is almost like a warm front there north of 81. And then to the south, you've got this part wrapping around. And guess what part that is? That's like a little miniature cold front. Where does a tornado typically form? Typically, it's going to form right where these two fronts meet. And actually, the science is not clear on how that happens, but we think what happens is the storm gets so high up in the atmosphere that this updraft starts to turn, and then it meets this colder air that's forced down by the fact the storm's towering up and gets pulled back into the updraft, and that's where you get your tornado. So There are differing opinions on that. That's part of the process that we're actually into right now in terms of research in meteorology. So it's kind of a neat time to be studying this if you're a meteorologist. If you're a meteorology student and you graduate and you think you know it all, like I did in 2000, most of what I'm using right now I learned after I graduated in 2000, because more research has come out in just the past 15 or 20 years than it's come out the whole time I was at UNC Asheville learning about some of this stuff. Also North Carolina, again, this is looking to me like more of a potential supercell setup, because I'm going to show you again the base velocity. You can see 3 areas, as I mentioned. 3 areas here: Yadkin County, Stokes County, Surrey County. There are 3 areas of rotation. So are any of these producing a tornado? We're going to look at that in just a second, but I did want to kind of circle them there just to kind of show you. Towards, away, towards, away. You also have to note the radar's up here. So you always want to know where your radar's at, because this is velocity relative to where the radar's at. That confuses some people sometimes, but it's what the radar is seeing. It's called radial velocity. So we take out the storm motion and we just look at the pure wind that the storm is seeing, and it's more pronounced. You see more of the reds and the classic greens there coming together. You can also see at the corner of your screen yet another area that is starting to develop there farther to the southwest that's got some rotation with it. So there are 4 areas of rotation coming out of the Yadkinville area in the Yadkin County, North Carolina, north of Interstate 40, that are moving northeast, none of which have an official warning at this time. But I want to emphasize this area is also an area that is in need of a radar, because if I zoom out, we can look at radar locations. The Floyd County radar is sitting up here. The Greenville-Spartanburg radar covers all the way up to right here. The Morristown radar covers all the way up to right here. In other words, there's no radar that's picking up the lower part of these storms. Let's see here. From Blacksburg, we are looking at 4,000 feet in the air. Now, there's activity also around Charlotte County that is kind of interesting. They've got a tornado warning in effect there. There is a terminal radar that I can pull up and show you, but basically, just going to read this warning for folks that are watching in and around the Charlotte area. We've got a severe thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado 4 miles south of Gastonia, or near South Gastonia, moving northeast at 20 miles per hour. Half dollar sized hail that's nearly 2 inches in diameter. Radar indicated rotation with that. So if you're in Metro Charlotte, Mecklenburg County here, east of Gastonia, Huntersville, Harrisburg, Concord, you're now under a severe thunderstorm warning for the potential for this to spin up. And this is looking at the Blacksburg radar. So we're looking really far down from Blacksburg at this, and we can even see the rotation on that storm there in West Metro Charlotte. But going back up here, I don't see as much. Well, if we do have rotation in this Bland County storm, it's going to be kind of messy and hard to find. This is just a bunch of mess, and it's probably got some hail that's in it there. You can see the Ville density there jumping up at times in the blue. You can also see the outflow. This is kind of a neat feature. It's the where the winds are changing within the storm, and where it's really smooth, where you see all this kind of dark gray. That's cool, stable air. That's air that's within each pixel that's not really moving around a lot. But if you look very closely here, you can see in the reds and the yellows, there's a line that you can follow right down through there. That's the outflow boundary of these storms. That's a way to pick up on the outflow boundary. Notice this one sticks out a little bit further, so there could be some stronger wind in that. So localized areas, I would say, of damaging wind, and localized areas of hail and potential rotation. You can always get something to, in this case, spin up. I hate saying that, but I don't like using that word a lot, but in some cases, you see there north of Rural Retreat, we've got a lot of action going on in terms of just a lot of wind changing all of a sudden on us in a real quick hurry. Not necessarily rotating, just changing directions, changing speed within that radar beam. And there's all kinds of different ways to show that to you. Going back down now, still no warning on this North Carolina storm just yet, but I see rotation in eastern Yadkin County. That may cross into the National Weather Service in Raleigh has to say that. This would be Forsyth County, Winston-Salem. It's going to miss Winston-Salem, but north of Walkertown there, as you get closer to King, northwest Forsyth County could be in line. You may see a wall cloud or something rotating as this continues to move off to the north and to the east. That's one of the more impressive signatures of rotation that I've seen since I've began streaming. Now, there have been others throughout the day, but you can see that you've still got an impressive notch there, and so that special weather statement still goes into effect here. That was issued at 6 o'clock, reminding folks that a tornado could develop at any time, but I'm telling you, I don't like what I'm seeing here on the spectrum width. There's some signatures there that the wind is doing its thing, moving along and at random. You've also got a chance of hail kind of interfering with some of this, maybe right there near Dobson. There could be some large hail in this as well. Let's check that. And yeah, we do have the possibility of some large hail here as well. We look at ZDR. I like to look at the type of the size, basically, of what's in the cloud. And this gives me a strength in terms of updraft strength. This shows me where the storms are highest, producing the wide raindrops. I realized that made no sense. So let me do this. I'm going to draw a line. We're going to look at this in 3 dimensions here. Bear with me. So let's start back out on a normal scale. And let me get this over where you can see it. Okay, so this is what you're used to seeing. Okay, so Stewart's up here. This is Virginia, top of the screen. This is Danbury and Dobson. We're going to tilt down now. We're going to look inside this thunderstorm. And we're going to zoom it on in, and we're going to move our sampler. So you can see how if you go, looks like our freezing level here is around 10,000 feet. If you look at the ZDR, and if we see anything that is like in the reds here above this 9,000 to 10,000 feet level, that's a good indicator of a strong updraft. So when we see these are the fatter, wider raindrops. And the farther up they get pulled into the atmosphere, like in this case, these are getting pulled up above 14,000, 15,000 feet. That's an indication of a very healthy updraft, unfortunately, and that's an indication of a strengthening thunderstorm. Interestingly enough, these are ice crystals that are showing up in these lighter colors. These are where the objects that the radar is hitting are more needle-like. So let me kind of draw that for you. This right here, these signatures, everything looks like this. Little needles, ice needles, basically. Where you see this activity, these are fatter raindrops. And right before a tornado forms, the updraft will sometimes carry those fatter raindrops up into the sky, and it will sort, what we call precip sorting. You can see the different sizes develop as that supercell gets going. And that's some of the cutting edge stuff that researchers are still looking at. So just to give you a little quick meteorological lesson, I'm looking at all levels here of the storm that I can, just to see the updrafts. And you can see that if look at about 12,000 feet here, we've got some reds that are showing up there. So there's some big fat raindrops that are being pulled up to 12,000 feet in this storm. There's also rotation in this storm. Let's see, at that level there's a little bit of rotation, but if you take it back down through the levels, 1.8 degrees, we're going to go lower all the way to the 0.5 degree. You can still see some rotation here as well, and you can see how that storm towers up some 30,000 feet, or at least in that moment, and that we could be seeing hail within that. We could be seeing debris. It's hard to tell, but there may be a warning again coming soon for this one. They haven't pulled the trigger, and that's the National Weather Service in Blacksburg not pulling the trigger yet on any type of a warning for this one out of Mount Airy, North Carolina, Stokes County, Surry County, Yadkin County. I can tell you that if you do live in Yadkin County and in Forsyth County, northwestern Forsyth County, you do want to be on the lookout for this to possibly generate into a tornado warning or a severe thunderstorm warning. I'm trying to get rid of my cursor and just move the map, but I had to do two different things on two different programs to get that to happen. Okay, back to our Bland County and Wythe County thunderstorm, far southwest Virginia. Wythe County here, you're getting a bit of a bow echo signature, and we could be looking at something spinning up here near Rural Retreat. It's not a guarantee, but what you're seeing is the cool air. These are possibly some very strong winds that are doing damage right now just south of Rural Retreat. That's what's pushed this notch out very, very far. At the same time, if you look at, we're going to keep that up on the screen. If you look at the base velocity, storm relative velocity, you can see that that happens to be in an area where we've got some rotation now showing up. So you've got, because of that push of air, that's colliding, basically picking it up as green going toward the radar there in Floyd County, and you've got relative winds going away from the radar in western Wythe County as well. So this is a situation where you could call that a potential spin up because of the way it looks on radar, because of the signature. That kink in the line is basically what you're looking at. It's not a straight line of storms. It has a pronounced kink to it. It's very easy to see there in Wythe County as that pushes out, and this is called the inflow notch that's pushing into the storm. And again, here's your storm relative velocity there, showing you the greens going toward the radar. This is probably some straight line wind that just came through Crockett. In Wytheville, your winds are blowing storm relatively wise. They don't care about the mountains. There's just so much energy out there blowing in to the storm. So we have to watch this one very carefully, because this one could produce a tornado in Wythe County. And in Blaine County, we've got just a little bit of notching going on here, where we've also had some reports of hail in that area. You can see still around Bland, up Interstate 77, there are indeed reports of hail there, up to about 3/4 of an inch in diameter, a little bit more in some other areas. But there's your regular radar screen out of Wythe County. And again, additional activity. Look at this. There it is, your tornado warning in effect. You saw it here first before the warning was even issued. East Bend, that's in Yadkin County. Also, I mentioned Forsyth County. That what you saw is the National Weather Service, I believe out of Greenville, Spartanburg. No, that's out of Blacksburg. Put that little warning out. Now, what's happened is that they've coordinated the National Weather Service in Raleigh has put out the tornado warning for northwest Forsyth County, because yes, we've got a fair amount of rotation in this area, and that rotation has increased. Now look at the brightness of the colors there. There is quite a bit of I'm getting down to street level here too. There's quite a bit of wind going toward and away from the radar just north of Enon, North Carolina. And why do I mention North Carolina if I'm covering Virginia? Well, because these storms are moving to the north and to the east at up to 30 to 60 miles per hour. So to put that in relative terms, if you're in Martinsville or Henry County, or even in Eden and Stokes County and Patrick County, these storms are going to be trouble here in about 30 or 45 minutes as they continue to move on to the north and to the east. Could they merge with these storms off to the west? Yeah, definitely. And there's actually another area of rotation. It's hard to pick up all of them, even for the National Weather Service, but I'm watching this too in Wilkes County, North Carolina, north of Wilkesboro. So I'm going to put on the base velocity. It shows up a little bit better, actually. Sometimes that'll happen like that. But you've got King, North Carolina, Bethania, East Bend. I'm going to read the text of the National Weather Service in Blacksburg's warning. That's for East Central Yadkin County until 7 o'clock. At 6:26, we've got a severe thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado located over Enon. It's now moved a little bit farther to the north there, or near East Bend. You can see here on my radar screen, it's near East Bend, but it's just to the southwest of East Bend proper. Moving northeast at 25 miles per hour. East Bend and Enon, take cover now. Move to a basement or an interior room of the lowest floor of a sturdy building. Avoid the windows. If you're outdoors in a mobile home or in a vehicle, move to the closest substantial shelter and protect yourself from flying debris. If you can't find a shelter, okay, as a last-minute resort, you can get out of your car and lie down in a ditch, and you'll be underground enough for that tornado possibly to not affect you as much. You'd be under the major part of the wind. You can also, it's debatable, some people ride these things out in cars. It's not advised, but as a very last resort, some National Weather Service offices will tell you that the cage of the car, if you can get your head below the dashboard, will protect you if the car goes flying. But there's still blunt force impact from that, unfortunately. So sometimes there's nothing you can do, unfortunately, if the tornado is strong enough. We've got a TVS showing up. That's not a good indicator. That's an indicator that the radar is convinced that there's a tornado there. When you see that triangle, you've got so much wind. Let's see. That's going at about 40 to 50 miles per hour away from the radar, and you've got about 40 to 50 mile per hour winds blowing in toward the radar. Even higher here, about 52 miles per hour going in toward the radar. And this happens to be on the border of where the National Weather Service and the National Weather Service in Raleigh take over. So they are going to coordinate this very carefully here, but that is not a good sign to see there on the radar screen. And now the circulation has probably crossed over from Yadkin County. So we may be seeing reports between East Bend and Enon very soon, but now it's crossed over into Forsyth County. So if you are in Winston-Salem, you're okay. This is going to be, and it's moving right now northwest of you. So I would be more worried about King, North Carolina, and Rule Hall here, North Carolina, for this very, very intense rotating cell that we've been talking about for a good half hour as it continues to move up to the northeast. Any debris being picked up here? Let's see. It's just so hard to tell. That's kind of messy looking to me. There certainly is a lot of ZDR action. In other words, if you go up into the thunderstorm, you can see some kind of material that's flat being raised up into this thunderstorm, and more than likely that could be debris, but it could be big fat raindrops there as well as that continues to cycle. So just to give you an idea of where we are here, we also now have a tornado warning in effect for Wythe County in Virginia. So we're going to concentrate on that one as well. We told you this was going to happen very, very carefully, and it's happening as I was telling you it may. In other words, I gave you a little bit of a heads up here. That notch that blows out from that thunderstorm there in Wythe County, just south of Wytheville, has created spin along it, because this is blowing faster than the wind here. In fact, this wind is blowing more this way. And again, we can put on the base velocity, we can put on the storm relative velocity, and you can see quite a bit of change in the wind direction over a very small area. So let's read to you the text of this tornado warning here for Wythe County. This is going to be radar indicated more than likely until 7 p.m. At 6:28, a severe thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado was located between Crockett and Wytheville, moving east at 35 miles per hour. The hazard being tornado and quarter-sized hail. Max Meadows, Wytheville, Patterson, Speedwell, Fort Chiswell, Cripple Creek, and Graham's Forge. Take cover now. Move to a basement or an interior room on the lowest floor of a sturdy building. Avoid windows. If you're outdoors in a mobile home or in a vehicle, move to the closest shelter possible. All right. Tornado indicated by radar in this area. And our correlation coefficient, if there was debris, it may be part of what we're seeing right there. That lowering of debris. If you look back and analyze where the winds were shifting, you can certainly, more than that, just look at the reflectivity. Look at the S that you see kind of shaped like this. That's an indicator that we've got a notch there that's kind of blown out, and now we've got a bit of a hook that's trying to develop here. It's kind of hard to call it that, but it's the S, and now it's becoming kind of a letter J. These things can do some weird turns, and in the real world you don't always get classic tornadoes. So it may be now that we have initiated our own cell within the bigger thunderstorm, and by that I meant Bland County is under a severe thunderstorm warning in yellow. You've got this tornado warning out for Wythe County, and it also goes, I think it goes right up against Pulaski County, it looks like. But if I'm looking here very precisely, I'm looking at this community here north of Cripple Creek. That's where the rotation is, and that's where we see that more clearly now than we saw it even just a moment ago, when it was kind of blowing out from the south side of that storm. That southern flank there, right there, started to develop some rotation. So this is headed toward I-77 and I-81, where they meet right there in Wytheville. Folks, where I-7 at the junction there on the interstate, if you've got a way to text somebody that you know may be on the interstate, on Interstate 77, headed towards the I-81 thoroughfare there where they meet up. If you're coming out of the south area of Wythe County and going into 81, you know where that's a very congested area. Unfortunately, in this time of the day, 6:36, hopefully folks are at home watching this. And I'm watching my numbers off to the side of the screen. They've been going down, and that happens a lot when I'm live. If you could do me a favor and share this stream, because now we are getting tornado warnings in our local area, and I need as many people watching. And this is not an ego thing. This is, you can keep it on whatever station you're watching. I need you to also be watching the stream, because we're going to be talking about warnings that'll be happening ahead of time, and we'll be analyzing these storms as well. Be a hero and share this stream. Your friends and your family may be in danger of this, and because you haven't shared it, they may not see it in their feed. Facebook's weird. It's hard to get these warnings out via Facebook or YouTube or whatever. Just as I'm looking at my meteorologist Jamie Singleton page here, I have 84 people on there right now. When I started, I had about 150 people. So people get tired of hearing the same thing over and over and over again, but things are ramping back up. So please, please hit that share button. I want to see that number get back up to about 150 at least. I'm also on my Jamie Singleton page. I've got 32 viewers there. I need to see bigger numbers here, or I might have to stop the stream. and restart it again just to get folks watching again, because of Facebook's algorithm. They like to take people to other sources after you watch an amount of time. But I tell you what, if you hit share, you have the potential to save lives. And that's no joke. That will force Facebook to put the stream in more places. Very, very large hail, possibly over 1.3 inches right over Withville. We've also got, again, the velocity couplet here on the southern side. It's getting a bit more hard to see here. Go back to the south, you can see it right there. And again, this is headed toward Max Meadows. This is headed toward I-77. What is this state route here? That is 52 that you're seeing there. Fort Chiswell, Kent, Max Meadows, you are in the path of what could be a damaging or deadly tornado. And it takes a lot for the National Weather Service to pull that trigger. They have to look at things in a very careful fashion. And that's what we're doing here live. So I am going to retrack, make sure I'm doing my storm motion correctly. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a marker here. We're going to advance this storm motion from marker. Now we're going to look at the storm relative velocity based on that, so we can get an idea of what the winds are doing. And yeah, we still see some reds and greens here. Could be convergence, could be some rotation embedded within that. Could be both. Could have straight line winds, suddenly a tornado and more straight line winds with it. We also have the potential of hail because I've got such high purple reflectivity showing up here. And I apologize for the pixelization. I can smooth it out for you. But what happens when I do that is I lose the actual data. So, you know, if I go over to storm relative velocity and I smooth that out, it's harder for me to see the actual pixels that I need to see to make a decision on what to look at. So I like to look at the individual radar pixels rather than an estimation of those radar pixels. So a tornado warning in Wythe County. This is headed right up Interstate 81. We've also got other storms. We've got a new one now developing in Southside in Danville. This is coming out of Pennsylvania County, moving into Halifax County. This one also has some rotation with it. Let me go back. I think I need to reset my marker here. Go up, measure from marker. There's base velocity, there's storm relative velocity. Nothing at the moment that screams rotation at me, but it certainly is some broad rotation being picked up in that storm. That's in Halifax County and in Chatham County. Okay, now I'm up to 93 on my Facebook and 35 on my other page. Keep sharing this, folks, because now we're getting warnings that are coming in. I was just about to stop the stream and I saw those numbers getting up there. Do me a favor, hit share. This is heading toward Pulaski, Radford, and then New River Valley. We also have storms in North Carolina with possibly a confirmed tornado south of King, North Carolina. That's in Forsyth County, just to the northwest of Winston-Salem. Winston-Salem right now is in the clear, but we have other cells that have already produced tornadoes and damage in eastern Virginia. We've got new cells developing out of thin air because it's just that unstable that are developing out of Southside. So the thing is, they've done studies. That there are social meteorologists that basically they study how you interpret warnings from folks like me, from folks like Channel 7, 10, 13, or if you're watching down in Greensboro's, you know, you got WXII and WFMY and Fox 8. Basically, in the National Weather Service, they study that. The studies have concluded that one of the best ways of saving lives is for family members to text or share a Facebook post to their friends. I can't reach everybody. No station's going to reach everybody. But if you do the sharing thing, that helps force Facebook and or Meta, or whatever they're called now, to put this in people's feeds so that they see it as a weather alert. And by the way, Facebook just stopped doing their weather alerts. I just got that update today. They're no longer doing their own weather alerts. So you got to pick a meteorologist and go with it. And it's always good to have 2 or 3 sources to go to. This tornado warning there, that's near Walkertown. It's a very pleasant town. If you travel down 158, I used to travel it a lot on the way to UNCA. But this is north. Again, this is on 52. If you go back toward the King area in North Carolina, you can see the radar indicating the mesocyclone that's being picked up very clearly here on the base velocity and the storm relative velocity. And as it continues to spin here, I'm looking at all products. There's almost a donut hole that's now being picked up. And what this could be is in the middle here, this could be the center of what could be a damaging tornado. I'm really worried about this signature here north of Bethania in North Carolina. And it's nearing Rule Hall. So if you're in Rule Hall, you should get downstairs into a basement. If you don't have a basement, this is about as real as it gets in terms of radar signatures. We've got some lowered correlation coefficients. We've got some very strong updrafts, putting those higher objects, those bigger, fatter raindrops higher up into the air. This is a way of just looking at rotation only. So if I was just to look at rotation, and we're going to get super hyper local here. I'm not familiar with this area as much as I should be. But again, this is north of Winston-Salem. You can see that you've got some pretty big buildings here, probably some industrial buildings. I think I see some schools in this area. This is an area, there's going to be some country areas that it's probably going to move over, but you see the Rule Hall area, that the rotation is nearing what looks like a pretty heavily populated area. I believe I see what could be a subdivision or trailer park ahead of this. And again, this is in North Carolina. This is in the north side of Winston-Salem. Not Winston-Salem, Forsyth County. All right. And it's right on the border of Stokes County. It's going to be nearing Stokes County very, very soon. But if I take that off a little bit and we look at where that tornado probably is, that is 52, I believe. And you can see so much in the way of development there. And you can also see the rotation showing up there as well. That was a loft. This is at the surface. There's going to be a kind of a different way of looking at it here as I zoom out. Very, very, very dangerous storm. If there was one, I imagine we may get some damage reports in from this area, northern Forsyth County as well. Not to take your attention off the fact that we also have a tornado warning in effect for Wythe County, now eastern Wythe County. Folks in Pulaski, you need to be on guard because this is moving quickly off to the north and to the east as well. At last check, it was moving at about now moving east at 35 miles per hour. Max Meadows, Patterson, Fort Chiswell, Grams Forge, Gutton Park, and Coleman Store take cover right now. This is headed right toward the one of the sensors there on the interstate. It's coming out of Wytheville. It had a notch of rotation with it on the southern flank. It looks more like straight line winds at the moment, but it could develop back into a what we call a QLCS tornado. That's basically a tornado embedded within rain and within a straight line wind scenario. But that tornado warning continues in effect again until 7 p.m. for northeastern Wythe County. As that continues moving closer to Pulaski County, there will probably be more warnings issued. I'm going to give you an early heads up. Giles County, Pulaski County, Radford, you're going to want to go ahead and make your preparations to stay away from windows and to treat this like a tornado is heading toward you. Okay, that's just the kind of setup that we are looking at in this case, and it's a very, very dangerous radar signature in terms of straight line wind damage and in terms of possible hail and debris showing up there as well. This is the what would be a hail indicator. So this is the possibility of looking at 1 inch or greater hail, at least according to the radar. And you can see that includes Kent, Max Meadows, and Fort Chiswell. Again, the terminal velocity of hail is about 90 miles per hour, and it's still showing up in terms of at least some straight line wind damage. Could be a little bit of a notch right around there, but mainly just winds slamming this area and just a lot of hail, what could be a hail core that is developed, that has developed and is continuing to push that hail up into the sky, and eventually that hail has to fall at some point. So let me show you a 3D look at everything here, and I didn't draw my line. This software makes you draw it in weird spots. Alright, so this is a 3D look. Here, TikTok viewers, let me help you out. Alright, so that's Withville. Let's show you the 2D map. There we go. Okay, we're going to tilt this in 3D now. And I want you to notice something. As I move this in the air, this is the surface right here. Let me draw that for you. This is the surface. Yep. See how this precip has this overhang, so it hasn't got down to the surface yet? That's an indication of a very strong updraft that's keeping that hail lofted aloft. It's what's called a bounded weak echo region, or BWR, as we call it in meteorology. It's an indicator of a very significant hailstorm and a very severe thunderstorm because of the way it has pushed that hail up into the atmosphere, and it's keeping it there for right now. But you're going to see, in some cases, you will see some very large hail fall from the sky out ahead of the storm. You may not even see rain. You may see large hail coming out of the top of this thing and landing in eastern Wythe County. Not to mention the fact that we've still got rotation that we're talking about, mainly in the mid-levels. Now, again, we're not looking at the surface. There's the surface. We have the ability to go look at this from the side, and you can see some rotation there at the mid-levels of this thunderstorm. So that can make its way down to the ground without much in the way of warning either. If I look at the correlation coefficient, I'm looking for the non-cranberry colors, and you can see there's some green and there's some yellow showing up there. That could be hail. That could also be debris by a possible tornado or straight line winds showing up there. It's a little hard to tell. But there is definitely something to look at there. This shows me where the raindrops are more concentrated and where they're not. And again, it all goes to show that there is a very healthy severe thunderstorm warning there. Again, share. If you're watching on Facebook, please tell people to join in one of these, and we'll help get the word out. We've got the continuing tornado warning out for eastern Wythe County, but let's zoom it out here and show you that there is now, I told you I was going to give you an early heads up, and so I've done that. They've now put out a special weather statement that includes Greenbrier County down through Craig County, Allegheny County. That includes most of the New River Valley north of Floyd County. So it includes Radford, Pulaski County, Montgomery County. This is not an official warning yet, but the National Weather Service is saying that we do have winds. It's moving east at 45, this whole cluster here. So this covers the rest of this cluster of thunderstorms. Locally heavy rainfall and some gusty winds knocking down tree limbs. Weaker trees can also blow around unsecured objects like chairs, trampolines, whatever. That can happen within a special weather statement. So it doesn't necessarily, especially in a situation like this, have to be a warning for you to want to take action. I just saw something here on the eastern edge of this tornado warning. So Pulaski County's here. I'm going to put a marker right there. Now, let me look at, and let us look at our velocity. Do we see reds and greens where this dot is? We sure do. So if I were you, I would consider this area right here to have a tornado with it. And it's moving again kind of east-northeast. Get my pointer back here. That is Highway 11. This is 81. So it's heading into Pulaski County there as well. You need to be taking shelter in Pulaski. You know, you've had tornadoes before. This is Highway 99. But that is very concerning where it's kind of re-emerged. Yeah, we can step it back and you can see how it was harder to see. It was harder to see the reds and the greens relative to the radar, and now what's happened is it's cycling once again, and it's going out of the polygon now. So we have to put the marker here now, but we still have that top edge there. Could have some rotation with it, so we may see another warning issued very soon here for Pulaski County. Let me look real fast as you continue to share this out for your friends in Pulaski County and in Christiansburg and Montgomery County and the rest of the NRV and in Southside. Please share this feed out so that it continues to get to as many people as possible. Good. We've got the Facebook meteorologist Jamie Singleton feed back up to 130. I'd like to see that get closer to 200 if we could. This is Walkertown, Walnut Grove. This is a tornadic thunderstorm, a supercell thunderstorm. Tremendous rotation with this. We've got lowered correlation coefficient values. We've got, let's see if we go up a little bit. Very strong updraft with this storm that's showing up. Even this is at 16,000 feet. We've got very either what's debris or let's see. That could be debris. That could just be really fat raindrops that are super cooled. They haven't had time to melt, but they're up there. And again, this is headed toward Walnut Cove in North Carolina. And there's 311 in North Carolina. That's southern Stokes County. So this is a new warning that's issued from Blacksburg until 7:15 for this severe storm. And again, the radar has that triangle there because it's picking up on the fact that it thinks it's a tornado as well. We've got a new severe thunderstorm warning. I told you this was coming and told you to share it for that reason. Pulaski County now, you are under a severe thunderstorm warning until 8 o'clock p.m. I'm at 6:53, a severe thunderstorm located over Max Meadows and Graham's Forge, moving east at 30 miles per hour. So for Pulaski, Radford, you're not officially included in the warning, but you are in the special weather statement. You need to treat this as a tornado warning. Locations impacted include Radford, Pulaski, Dublin, Max Meadows, Allisonia, Clayderdam, and McCoy. A tornado watch remains in effect for this area until 8 o'clock, and as it goes a little bit farther east, it'll be until 10 p.m. once it crosses into the NRV. So basically, the National Weather Service is putting out a disclaimer saying, we know we've put out a severe thunderstorm warning. We know it's not red because that would be a tornado warning, but we feel there is a tornado possible with this. In fact, if you go down, they don't have it here, but this has produced some impressive rotation and actually continues to show a little bit of rotation right there where I'm putting my marker. And that's nearing, again, US 11, just to the southwest of Pulaski. We do have rotation there. So if it strengthens, we may have to, we may see another tornado warning going up soon for Pulaski County. Pulaski itself, you may be seeing the top end of this, and that would be probably the very heavy rain and hail. That's the reflectivity that's off to your west. Don't be surprised here as I show you the what's called the Ville density. This is kind of an parameter for picking up large hail. Don't be surprised in Pulaski and with this storm if you don't see some 1 inch plus hail as it continues to move off to the north and to the east, nearing the US 11 area there as well. So we've got a lot going on in a real quick hurry, and there's our confirmed tornado earlier, or at least radar indicated. I wouldn't call it confirmed because I don't have the damage yet, but we do have that line of storms also coming out of the Allegheny Highlands. Everything is coming together. We thought about 6 to 9 o'clock would be the peak of this, and the next few hours are going to be rocking and rolling. I do want to point out again that behind this first area that's moving through, we've got more severe weather off to the west because the dynamics with this system are just that impressive. I can only recall 1 or 2 times when it was about the same, and that was when we had the 2011 tornadoes. That was in a La Nina year, and the other time was when we had the tornado in Franklin County, the EF3, I believe, that tore up a couple, at least the Anderson's home there. That was a day very similar to today as well. I'm showing you more of a user-friendly map here just to kind of give you an idea of what's going on. Again, Giles County, very heavy storms here. Special weather statement out for this area. Temperatures are in the upper 60s. And the temperatures are pretty uniform. It's the winds that are coming in at different directions along that warm front. That's the big problem. But I'm going to put this in motion so you can get an idea. It's going to be under controls. We'll let this animate just so you can get an idea of where the storms have been and which way they are moving. Look how fast they have developed here across the western Piedmont of North Carolina. So Franklin County now, Roanoke County, we're starting to see some new cells fire up on their own just from all the energy in the atmosphere. We've got tornado reports from earlier storms in Orange County, North Carolina. We've got a potential severe storm that could be developing in Halifax County. We've got at least 3 to 5 different cells coming out of Surrey County, Yadkin County, and a very impressive storm with an inflow notch there in southern Stokes County, North Carolina. We've also got some flood advisories now in effect for Saltville, Smith County, Bland County, in effect from all the heavy rain that we've been seeing in that area. Now I want to show you just the warnings because I don't like to get too tied down with just showing you what has been described by some as just splattered paint. You know, when a weather person just shows you a radar, kind of looks the same after a while, doesn't it? So I'm going to show you something different here. I like to mix my maps up. This is from WSD3. This is a high-res satellite. The circled areas that are kind of moving along like a 3-ring circus, those are mesoscale discussions issued by the Storm Prediction Center. And that's because this entire area in red is a tornado watch. The one out here is in effect until 8 o'clock for another hour. The tornado watch that's in effect for the rest of the area east of Pulaski County all the way to Virginia Beach and as far north as Charlottesville, Albemarle County, and including the Raleigh-Durham area, that's in effect until 10 o'clock. Now I've got live lightning data displayed, but I have taken off the actual radar just so you can see the polygons. And I'm going to remove now the rest of this busyness here. So let's take off the mesoscale discussion. And let's also get rid of the satellite data for a second. So now all we're looking at is the tornado watch, which is why your colors are kind of moving back and forth here on the screen. But you can also see the details of the severe thunderstorm warnings that are in effect. A little bit of a lag here because I've got computers talking to each other in multiple fashions here. Let's go down into North Carolina, where we've got tornado warnings in effect, just to get your bearings here. So at the top of the screen, you see Stewart, Virginia, Patrick County. By the way, you've got a cell there that doesn't have a warning with it just yet, but you're probably hearing the thunder and maybe seeing the lightning there west of Martinsville, west of Bassett into Patrick County. That could become something to watch in terms of rotation very quickly. Our warm front's lifting north. We have multiple tornado warnings now in North Carolina, and I point these out because A, I've got people watching me down there. B, because these are moving so fast that it will not take long for these to get into Martinsville and Patrick County if they hold together. And I'm trying to find the happy medium on zooming in remotely. You can see the tornado warning in effect for Yadkin County, also Stokes County here, another 15 to 30 minutes basically, with 1-inch hail possible in this area, and up to 40-mile-per-hour winds around that area, even if you're not in the actual path of the tornado. I can try something that I haven't tried before. This is something that's I've got called MRMS, and I've got the ability to show low-level shear if it'll let me show it. So I'm going to load that, and we're going to see if we have anything. I just worked on the color palettes for this. In fact, we can look at it over the past 60 minutes. And it may take a second to load, but it will give you a good idea of the path of these storms, and it will give you a good idea of where the storms may be going once this loads. We're loading the newest frame now. And again, if you live in the Roanoke Valley area, and if you live in the NRV, and if you live in Southside Virginia, you are seeing storms close in from your west. You're also seeing storms close in from your southwest. That's a very bad thing, because we've already got your own rotation going on in the atmosphere there. So locations around Stewart, again, Martinsville, Rocky Mount, you're probably going to have some kind of special weather statement or alert issued very soon, in addition to the tornado watch that you've got in effect there. So while we wait for our markers to load, and again, I give you a kind of an overview here of where all of our warnings are. That's kind of a good image. And you can see the wind directions too. Let me increase the size of that. You can see how our winds are coming in from the southeast ahead of this warm front. They're coming in out of the south and southwest below that warm front, and they are coming in out of a kind of the northwest ahead of this. All of that is combining to enhance the low-level spin of what's going on. And even down across South Carolina and Myrtle Beach, it's more of a straight line wind threat here, but that's also something that is very, very concerning. So there we see things are lighting up very quickly here. I'm going to go back to our Blacksburg radar, and we will go back to the zoomed in image so we can see what's going on. So Pulaski County, that still looks pretty impressive. There's still some rotation being picked up there, a little bit of a notch. It's hard to tell what that could be, but it certainly does warrant my attention because it's had some spinning nature that's increased and decreased over the past couple of minutes here. No longer do we have a tornado warning out for Pulaski County. It is a severe thunderstorm warning for right now. What's going to probably happen at some point, one of these storms is going to become tornadic again. And so do not let your guard down in Blacksburg, Montgomery County, Craig County. Hey, even in the Allegheny Highlands, we had a possible tornado around Quinwood earlier today. These storms could become tornadic as well. This one in Pulaski County is trying its darndest to get that southern edge to rotate again. I can tell. It keeps reforming there. And we zoom it back out, we've got other strong storms in Grayson County, Patrick County, Henry County, southern Franklin County. No special weather statement out yet, but look, let's use a little common sense. We've got significant wind shear across the entire area. We've got 2 tornado warnings in effect, one for southeastern Stokes County, where the radar is seeing an incredible amount of rotation, and another one for Yadkin County and going into Surrey County from this cell that's moving up to the northeast. If you follow a path, that would put Patrick County and the rest of Stokes County in the path of this one around Yadkinville. the possible tornado there, the tornado warning, and the tornado warning also in effect for southern and eastern Stokes County. That puts that into Rockingham County, possibly into Henry County and Pennsylvania County. Nothing said of the cells that are developing on their own out ahead of this, because the energy is moving a little bit farther north, and we've got a whole slew of severe thunderstorm warnings with confirmed wind damage. These are trees down, power poles down, everything that you see here is an individual storm report from official sources or weather spotters. The circled areas are large hail reports. You can see a lot of those around Charlotte of around an inch. Even Richmond down here around Fayetteville, 1 to 2 inch in diameter hail. That's supercell type hail. And Davidson down near Asheboro, North Carolina, Greensboro, we've had some hail reports there as well, and some high wind reports. So we know these are going to produce damage, and we know that they are spinning. There's a look at your velocity. Again, Danbury, Stokes, you can see the reds going away from the radar screen. You can see the brighter colors going toward the radar screen. So I'm going to show you that right now. There's, oh, that's really hard to see, Jamie. Put that back up there. Away from the radar. This is in Yadkin County, and this one's moving in this direction. And then we've got a very tight rotation, very powerful rotation. That's why you see that triangle. The radar's kind of screaming at us and telling us that storm is serious. And that's in Stokes County as well. Stokes County may end up getting 2 tracks of tornadoes moving across that area if we continue to see this this other one out here to the west, and Yadkin County continue to hold together as it moves closer into Southside Virginia. I need to zoom out and make sure I don't have anything. I don't know what I accepted on TikTok there, but
hello?
I've accepted something. I think I'm talking to somebody.
Hello?
Yeah, I don't need another host. Sorry. Okay. I'm going to go live there in just a second. Okay, here we go. Just lost our TikTok because I'm an old boomer and I don't know how to use TikTok live. We'll pop on here in just a second. Mainly I'm concerned about these storms moving into Southside Virginia, and I'm also worried about the stuff coming out of the New River Valley going into Pulaski. Tell you what, I'm going to sign off for just a few minutes. Going to get a quick break in here. Tornado warnings will auto post to my feed. This is going to be no longer than a 5 to 10 minute break, and I will be back on all streams to let you know about these approaching tornado warnings. And for Southside, go ahead and have a safe place in mind. And we've got a new one now issued for Rockingham County, nearing the Eden area as well. That one looks very serious. There's a lot of rotation with this one. This usually happens as soon as I try to sign off. This is around Mayodan, in the Stoneville area, Rockingham County, Eden. This is a very, very dangerous looking storm. Looks like it's over Pine Hollow, Walnut Grove, moving northeast at 35 miles per hour. Ellisboro's in the fact of this, Stoneville in the path of this as well. That's radar indicated. An incredible amount of rotation there showing up in the blues. That's a lot of wind. That's 115 mile per hour wind, if that's right, and going in one direction. So we could be looking at a EF2, EF3 tornado if that indeed is what's happening. You can see some debris matching up there. You can see the large hail on the north end of that, 1 to 2 inch hail near Mayodan. This is nothing short of a supercell storm. If I smooth it out, you may be able to see the hook echo there near Walnut Cove. And how far away is that from Martinsville and Southside? Not that far away. It's moving up to the north and to the east. So very serious. More tornado warnings are possible. I'm going to take a real quick break, and I'm going to be right back.